arriving at Southern Cross.
Melbourne's rail network doesn't change often. The last truly significant change came with the Metro Tunnel, the biggest transformation to the network since the City Loop opened in the 1980s. Before that, you'd have to go back to December 2020, when the first HCMT entered passenger service. But on the morning of May 3rd, a significant moment arrived. After months of testing and anticipation, the first Extropolis 2 finally entered passenger service. Unlike most people, I had mixed feelings about its arrival. While the improved interior, increased accessibility and high-quality passenger information systems are a clear step forward for Melbourne's train fleet, it also signals something else: the gradual end of the Comeng train, a train that's been a constant for decades. Since entering service in the early 1980s, the fleet has covered millions of kilometres, carrying generations of passengers across the network. For many passengers, it's a part of the background, but for others, it's something they've grown up with, something familiar, reliable, and uniquely Melbourne. With these new trains expected to replace the remaining Comeng fleet by 2032, that transition is no longer the future. It's already happening, quietly, gradually, but noticeably. Our day began at Flinders Street Station at 7:45 a.m. From past experience, especially during the Metro Tunnel opening, I knew that a 9:06 a.m. first service would be very popular and would quickly become completely packed. Events like this don't stay quiet for long. I picked up a paper cutout of the Extropolis 2 along with a badge and stickers before heading to platform 4. Even then, the platform was beginning to fill. Some people stood close to the edge, others further back. Protective service officers were attempting to move passengers down an already packed train to clear space for government officials, including the Transport Minister and Metro staff. It was clear that both Metro staff and officials hadn't expected this level of turnout for the first Extropolis 2 passenger service. Up close, the design is not without its flaws. The front feels overly rounded, almost bulky. The sides are more curved than expected, lacking the sharper and more industrial look of the Extropolis 100, Comeng's train, and Siemens Nexus. It feels like a clear departure from what Melbourne trains have traditionally looked like. Let's step inside and the perspective shifts. The interior is brighter, cleaner, and noticeably more modern. Even in a packed carriage, the space feels more open. Light reflects differently, spaces feel newer, and the layout is clearly designed with movement in mind and maximising standing capacity. There's a significant increase in passenger information displays, making it easier to follow the journey in real time. Around 20 accessible spaces are spread throughout the train, and the layout allows for more flexible use of space, something that becomes especially noticeable when the train is crowded. This comes at the cost of seating density, but increases the overall capacity of the train.
North Melbourne. Change here for Craigieburn, Werribee and Williamstown services.
And the clarity continued throughout the journey. Each station was marked off by the same rhythm: announcement, train decelerating, doors opening, brief exchange of passengers, and then departure.
I'm not worried for you, I'm just curious what was worthy of it.
Because this was the very first service, it ran off peak and didn't appear in the journey planner. However, it is still shown on station passenger information displays, leading to a mix of excitement and confusion among passengers. Combined with a 40-minute service frequency, it created a situation that felt unusual, even by weekend standards. At multiple stations along the Upfield line, people were waiting not just to board, but to watch. Some stood back, observing, others filmed. Some looked confused, trying to understand why a Sunday morning train was so full. Walking through the train, the seating is arranged in a 2-2 configuration, unlike the 2-3 layout used on the Comengers. The seats resemble those used on the short-haul V-Line Velocity services, which isn't that surprising given they are both manufactured by Alstom. The shift into this new train reduces seating capacity from 536 seats on a Comeng to 443 seats on the Extrap 2, allowing more standing room and increasing the total number of passengers that the train can carry. While they don't feel especially comfortable, they are practical for short suburban trips. The aisles are noticeably wider than any other train currently on the network. This is achieved by using narrow seating, which first seems like a compromise, but makes sense when standing capacity is considered. This reflects a broader shift towards high capacity layouts. There is also dedicated bike storage areas secured with Velcro straps, similar to those used on V-Line Velocity trains. It's a small detail, but one that reflects a more considered approach to how people use the network. The route maps and destination displays are claimed to be an improvement over the older Comeng trains.
Now arriving at Parliament. Change here for Hurstbridge, Murder services.
But in practice are quite similar to the later Alstom refurbished sets.
Now
One noticeable
arriving at
improvement
Melbourne
is the inclusion
Central.
of connecting services at key stations like North Melbourne and throughout the city loop, displayed with their corresponding colour on the network map. However, some of the maps feel slightly undersized. Compared to the Extropolis 100, the wire quality feels noticeably smoother. The use of airbag suspension removes the bouncing motion that gave the older trains their name the Extrampolines. On my return journey from the city, the difference became even more noticeable. The Extropolis 100 struggled with the wheel slip in wet conditions, highlighting how much train design has evolved over time. However, not every design choice feels like a clear improvement. One surprising aspect is the use of 2 pantographs across the entire train. With high current demands, this leads to visible sparking during acceleration. Under load, this concentrates electrical draw rather than distributing it.
Flinders Street.
By the time the train had made its way back through the city loop and into Flinders Street, the energy had already started to shift. The crowds were still there, but thinner now. The excitement quieter. What had felt like a one-off moment was already beginning to settle back into routine. They'll phase in gradually, service by service, run by run, until eventually they become a part of the everyday. Earlier that morning, this felt like something people didn't want to miss. A packed platform, a full train, a level of attention you don't usually see for a suburban service. But in a few years' time, the same train will pass through the same stations without the attention. No crowds, no cameras, just another service on the timetable. While today was all about the introduction of the Extropolis 2, it also created a moment where 2 generations of trains briefly shared the same spotlight. On one side, something new, designed for where the network is heading. On the other, something that's been there for years is still running on the same lines, still doing the same job. And alongside it, the Comeng continues on. Still familiar, but no longer part of the future of the network. For now, the Comeng and Extropolis 2 continue to run side by side, but over the coming months, the balance will begin to shift as withdrawals gradually pick up and the final use of the Comeng come fully into view. Because moments like this aren't just about the first service, they're about the point where one becomes normal and the other slowly disappears.